I'm Jocelyn Ruggiero, and this is Snippets. My guest today via Skype is Marcus H. Johnson. Marcus is a political scientist, freelance writer. He blogs about politics at Medium. And thanks for being with me today.
No problem. It's fun to be here. I'm glad to be here.
Cool. I love Skype. So I want to talk to you about an article I read of yours a couple weeks ago, which was so good. And it was why identity politics are civil rights. So I'm hoping we can start by you telling me, what has this term identity politics meant in the discourse of this particular election cycle?
Okay, well, identity politics has kind of been used as a catch-all term for different marginalized people's identity. So people in the Black community, the Latino community, feminist writings and women's rights, LGBTQ rights, all those kind of things have been falling under this kind of umbrella of identity politics. Mm-hmm. And when you're fighting for civil rights, I mean, civil rights and the rights of people, whether it's using the bathroom for, trans people or for Black people who are trying to fight for voting rights, all that kind of stuff kind of falls under identity politics. Mm-hmm. And I kind of felt, offended when so many people were saying, hey, well, the Democratic Party went too far in trying to talk about so much identity and not just talk about economics. And you have to stop talking about identity because it turns off so many of these people in the rural areas. And I just thought that was wrong. So it led to me to wanting to write this article.
So in other words, for the Democratic Party to move forward, they have to look at identity politics not as an obstacle to unity, but as a prerequisite to unity, right?
Exactly.
So e pluribus unum, but we can't, from many, you can't get one from many if everyone doesn't have equal rights.
Exactly.
Right. So what do you think that the party needs to do going forward in order to unify, but also be inclusive of all these disparate needs?
Well, I think the party has to do a couple of different things. I think first the party needs to focus on voting rights. Number one, turning out its base. I think that a great way to do that actually is automatic voter registration, which different people in the party have started to champion. The party doesn't really have. I mean, I think a lot of people say, well, the party has abandoned these different groups, and the party has gone away from labor. And I just don't see that as true. I think that the party just needs to continue to excite its base and turn its base out because Clinton won the vote by 2.5 million. I mean, it wasn't like she had a bad message or the Democrats had a terrible message. It's just about turning out the people who should be most receptive to you, not going and trying to reach across to find people who aren't really voting for you. I mean, to find these rural people who are voting for Republicans, I think it would take a lot more to turn them over to the Democratic side than people are really saying, on Twitter and stuff like that.
Right. So, in fact, there's an assumption probably that the sort of white, middle-class, rural America is the center of the party, when in fact it's about pulling in every piece of the every group coming together to make the party more inclusive. And you can't do that unless you're looking at everyone's rights and everyone's needs.
I think we should be highlighting the diversity and inclusiveness of the party and championing that, not saying that, hey, we need to stop talking about, X group's rights or this group's rights. I think we need to champion and say, hey, we're going to stand up for everyone. We're going to champion this diversity. We want representation for these different groups. We want to say, hey, women should be in Congress. We want to say women should be at the highest level of business, or that Black people should be at the highest level of business and in politics. And I think that's a great thing. I think we shouldn't go away from those kind of things. I mean, even if people say, hey, it's not the best strategy, I think it's morally right.
Exactly. It's not all about economics. It's about a lot of other things as well.
Definitely.
Great. So thank you for this short talk. I highly recommend everyone follow Marcus on Twitter. He tweets 24/7 seemingly, and he always has something really good to say on Medium, which you always share that. So cool. Thank you very much for sharing your viewpoint today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.